The show where anything goes. Motivation, mindset, recovery, philosophy, and life. We become who we are through what we experience. We all have a story, and this is My Backstory with Josh Boyer.
All right, man, here we are, the My Backstory podcast with Joshua Coburn. Some of you may know who Joshua is. You've heard him on my podcast on episode 4. But I want you to do a brief introduction for the people that haven't listened to that first episode, just kind of who you are and a little bit about your story.
I gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. As I wrestle with my cat here. No, my name's Joshua Coburn. I'm an author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. My primary focus is essentially to leave the world better than I found it, to help others, encourage others, remind people of their self-worth when they're struggling with it. Because, there's a massive time in my life where I didn't have any of that. And I thought that I was probably the only one. So now kind of my MO is to kind of put it out into the world for others, that kind of support, so they know that they're not alone.
Yeah, man. I can tell you, dude, like a lot of people have asked me multiple times, because I've done 80, like almost 100 episodes, right? And a bunch of people have asked, like, dude, what was your favorite episode? What was your most influential episode? And I always refer to your episode that we did in Iowa. And I tell you why, man. It opened my eyes to so many things that I wasn't seeing, like a lot of the armor that I had up, a lot of the, when you meet somebody, you never know if you're meeting like their representative or like who they want you to see, or if you're actually meeting that real person. And it really like gave me a call to like action, to be more authentic, to just be who I am. And dude, I got to tell you, man, that episode touched my life dramatically and in a good way. And it's always my go-to, dude. When people ask what's my favorite, there it is, dude. That was it.
That means more than you realize. Like, honestly, I don't know. I guess for me, I try to live my life as authentically as possible. No BS. Like, it doesn't matter if you catch me, out at a concert, or you catch me, eating family with my kids, or, somewhere else in a business situation. You get what you get. And in many ways, I feel like that's a huge plus for me. At other times, like anyone, I'm like, well, God damn it, maybe this is too much. Maybe I'm too much. But then I think, I don't know how to be or do anything else. Like, you just get the real raw me. And that kind of weeds people out quickly. If I'm going to do business with somebody and I can't break bread with you, and there's no connection through my heart and mind and gut, then I'm not doing it. I don't care how much money's on the table. I can't do it. And that applies to everything. So I don't know, gloves are always off, I'm always ready.
No, I love it. And like a couple things that you said on the first episode that we did was one that really stuck with me, was like not leaving anything unsaid. Say what you need to say what's on your mind, get it off your chest. And the other one was the freedom of being you, the freedom of like, when you meet me in person, it's going to be the same person you see on social media. It's going to be the same person. That I'm not going to put out a fake person. I'm just going to bear it all out there and take it or leave it. It's who I am, And now, so I appreciate that, man. It really has been made a huge impact in my life, man. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm honored. That means a lot, really. So thank you.
Sure. Yeah, for sure, brother.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that just showing up is enough, because I know guys like us, we talk about even that phrase, like, just show up.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, well, I'm there. It's like, no, like, be you, be present, and give what you can give. If you're not ready to give that energy, don't go. Don't show up. Don't be there. Focus on yourself. Fill your cup. Whatever it is you need to do. But if you're going to do something, fucking show up. Because if you're not, then there's not going to be that impact. And, you just never know. I didn't know that day that, a year or two later, we would have this conversation. I just showed up, just like you just showed up. The amount of respect I had for a dude who hits me up on IG and is like, hey, I want you on a show and I'm going to fly to Iowa and do it. That's ballsy. And I have huge respect for that, because honestly, like, there's a number of podcasts that I do or have done, and usually they're like, I want to do it in person, fly out here. I'm cool with that, but I fly all the friggin' time. Like, it's got to be a mutually beneficial thing. You immediately were like, dude, I got skin in the game, so I'm here. I'm coming. I'll see you next week. And I'm just like, hell yes. So that says something. That's fucking showing up. You know what I mean? And so many people just are not willing to do that. And it's huge. That's such a big deal to do.
Yeah, I really think that you get what you give, and like I was willing with the podcast to really give it my all. And I don't want to miss the opportunity. It's like we can do a Zoom, and now that I know you and I've met you and I've felt your energy and who you are, and like it's like I've embraced you, I've hugged you. Like now I can do this episode. It's a little different for me because I feel like a connection with you already. But had we not met in person, I don't know if I would have had that same connection that we did in person, And that's why, like with the podcast, it was so important to me to do every episode in person because I wanted to know who these people were that I was meeting and then sharing with the world with, So yeah, it's been a labor of love for sure. So I want to get to the topic of mental health. I mean, as we talked about offline, my buddy Rory Hamill took his own life last month, and that was a devastating blow, man. It was, I was completely shocked, speechless. I didn't know, I never saw it coming, like it was like he hit me up the week before and I was like, man, like, did I miss a sign? Did I miss something that he said? Like, so you're racking your brain, like thinking like, dude, like what could I have done to change this outcome? And, he left behind 3 kids and me having 4 sons. It was like, dude, I could just feel the heaviness of that. And I was like, man, what can I do to like make a difference? Like I don't know his family personally. I knew him personally, but not his family. But I was like, I got to do something to like carry on the legacy that he was like doing, which was going around and helping thousands of veterans, And so I chose to do this podcast series to go over specifically covering mental health. And so the first question I want to ask you is, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm fucking awesome. Like life is good. Oh shit. I live right along train tracks and I think a train is coming, dude. So heads up. Yeah. But oh yeah. Sorry, that might fuck some things up audio wise. Give me a minute, dude. Good. I didn't even think about that.
That's all good, dude.
There's no train schedule, so it just happens.
Yeah.
Like, dude, bear with me a second. I'm sorry. Go figure, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Literally right outside my door.
Wow. I always wondered, like, them honking like that. Like, I was like, is that always necessary? Like, what, are they doing that to, like, let the crossing people know, like, that they're coming, or?
I think so. I mean, I would assume, because they honk like fucking crazy, and it drives us nuts. I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, that's right below your house?
Yeah, I'm literally sitting, like, in the corner of, like, our living room, dining room area.
Yeah.
Because it's an old factory here. And this is the old train track where they used to deliver, like, things and pick up things. So
super cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's all good.
But can you hear me okay at this point?
Yeah, I can hear you, dude. You're good.
Okay, cool. So how am I doing? Dude, I'm honestly great. I'm doing great. I know the world's in turmoil as far as, all these restrictions and the news and stuff like that. But I'm great. And I think part of that is because, previously prepared things in life and the kind of work that we put in personally to ourselves allows us to logically approach things instead of emotionally approach things. So I'm not one to generally freak out or melt down mentally when things kind of go sideways.
Yeah.
And I used to, don't get me wrong, that used to be me completely. But at this point in my life, it's nice to be through a lot of that. And I'm not, I learned like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, that if I'm not keeping up on my practice, that it all comes back. We talk a lot about kind of mindset and shit like that. But, a few years ago, I remember waking up at like 4 a.m. with a massive panic attack. And I was like, and that was my first one in like 17 years. And I'm like, what the hell? How did I get here? I thought I was Mr. Positive motivational speaker guy. And here I am waking up with a panic attack for the first time in 17 years. And when I kind of evaluated it, I realized that I just wasn't being present with myself. And I got I don't know, maybe ego is the wrong word, but a bit of an ego about it because I just wasn't kind of practicing the same things to understand my value, my worth, and I allowed it to fall into other people's hands again. And that mentally impacts you. And it hit me, and it was very humbling. So now, I'm in good practice with my happiness, with my self-worth, with my confidence. And, regardless of the challenges we face, that's kind of how I approach them. It's just logically with emotion set aside so I can kind of slay what I need to slay. So
for sure, man.
Long story short, good.
I'm glad that you said that because, me personally, like lately I've been struggling with my own anxiety and panic and stuff like that. And I was asking myself those same questions. It's like, dude, like I've really put myself out there. I've done what I needed to do to build the podcast. I was anxious and, panicked when I was flying everywhere and like whatever, but I was just putting myself into the fire constantly. And I felt like, dude, like at some point I got to get some reprieve and like feel like okay again. And it's going to be all good. And I was doing all this work when I initially, got off on my meds and really tried to like heal my life. But just like you, man, I feel like I was getting off track. Like I was losing sight. I was so busy trying to help other people that I stopped helping myself. Like I wasn't doing the same things that I used to do. And part of that, like I posted it yesterday, part of it was I was spending too much time on the iPhone. So I was like, you know what, dude, I'm going back to the old school flip phone and I'm just going to change my life, dude, and get back to the basics of what matters to me, and I feel like that's why I was having all these things come up for me because all the things that are going on in the world, I do see them from a logical standpoint, but I feel like I was having an emotional response to it because when I would look at my iPhone, it's like it was almost like impossible to avoid all the negative bullshit that was coming at me. Like it was like no matter what, like I'm trying to do my social media stuff, and it's like, but you have to see all this other stuff, and it was having a negative impact on me. And I was like, I'm not really digging this, so I could be disciplined and just be like, no, I'm all on the iPhone these hours or whatever. But I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with just going back to a flip phone and just take the distraction completely away, Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's huge.
I disconnected the cable, so I didn't have a TV for years, but we have a TV for the kids, Netflix or whatever. But yeah, I was like, I'm disconnecting the cable. I'm not going to spend any more time on absorbing any of that heavy shit, dude. Like I just don't want to,
Right. Yeah, I do. So. I feel you, especially because when we look at things like through social or through that lens, it looks like that's everywhere all the time. And that's just not true. You've traveled enough to know, not that it doesn't get clouded when it's hammering you, that, you travel to different areas of the country or the world and you start to realize that, that thing that's all over social media, these people, they don't even know about or they're aware of and don't give a shit because it doesn't impact them. It has nothing to do with them. Fucking dudes hanging out in Montana and Kalispell sitting on the lakes, worrying about fishing. They don't give a shit about anything that's happening, whether it's social distancing or anything else, because they've been distant for about 40 years,
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how that kind of thing can impact us. So well done on kind of taking initiative and getting away from it. Because, there's a way to be fully informed and not be fully immersed, if that makes sense. And sounds like you're definitely on that track. For me, my social stuff, like it's edited so heavily that like anyone posts anything political at all from any side or perspective, I delete them. I can't see them. And that's deliberate because at the end of the day, when I want my info, I'll go explore that in the way that's best for me. I don't need it shoved down my throat. You remember that whole thing years ago about, just if you avoid politics and religion, everything's going to be fine. And man, we as people suck ass at that these days, but that still holds true. Like all my best friends are completely different than me. Could not be more different. If you saw us in a room, you would think that there's no way we fit, but that's not true. We all completely fit. And it's because there's a mutual respect, which is the part that's missing.
Yeah, for sure. And I was very careful even with like what I was posting with everything that's going on in the world. I was like, I want to post something just to kind of like give my feelings on it or whatever, my thought on it. But I'm going to be very careful not to get into the political realm. You know what I mean? It's not political to me. You know what I mean? I don't want to go down that road. The other thing I want to ask you, Josh, is have you ever thought about suicide or contemplated? I mean, or tried suicide, attempted?
I wrote the note. That was actually the main turning point for me. And you can actually find the note. I published it in one of my books because I just wanted people to understand, like, look, dude, not only have I been there, somebody say, yeah, back in whenever this happened. No, like there's tangible proof that this existed and this was a thing and this was a moment. And I wrote that note because shit got too heavy. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is for all of us. We try to man up and stuff it down and deal with everything. And it gets heavy. It gets too heavy and it's hard to carry around. And ultimately that's kind of what happened to me. I stuffed it down deep so I could man up. And, I grew up in a house in a time when, in the Midwest, it was, it's farmers and dudes who were climbing electrical pools and being badasses and building houses and garages and shit. Like, that ain't me. But, you pick up things. And one of those things was, no matter how shitty things are, you suck it up, you deal with it, and you face it. But I didn't know how. And I didn't know that meant talk about it or not talk about it. The people around me were drinking about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how they dealt with it. And they were alcoholics, and that wasn't a route I wanted to take. So of course it just spin around up here in my head for days and weeks and months. And I remember sitting at work, working overnights at the time in a factory that I hated, and just thinking over and over, like, why am I here? I'm fucking worthless. People are telling me I'm worthless. I'm pathetic. I got no future. So what? Why? What am I doing if that's truly the case? So I decided I just wasn't going to do it. And I went home and I wrote that note. And I've talked about it a few times. I don't know if you and I talked about it, but I struggled with anxiety a lot at that time, like to the point that I was struggling even leaving my home. And it was so bad that I felt like if I didn't do things in a specific order, or on a specific time, that, like the world would end or something catastrophic would happen or whatever. It's like that weird thing. And I don't want to say like OCD, because I feel like that's discrediting people who really struggle with what that is. That's not what it was, but right. It was like, every day I do this and I got to do it by this time. Minutes would get closer to that. I'd get more anxious so that I could do it. And then I'd get it done and be like, oh gosh, but then it was the next thing. And, all that got to be too much, but weirdly, that's what saved me, because I wrote that note and I remember like bawling and putting that pen down and seeing the time and realizing it was the time I usually go to bed. And I like flipped out because I was like, well, I can't do this now. I have to go to bed right now. That's what I do right now. And right. It's like this weird internal battle. And I don't know why it happened like that for me. I don't know. Because, you can think about all the crazy cosmic things that had to align for you to get to that point in life. And then I didn't do it because I went to bed. And when I woke up several hours later, I felt different because all the stuff that I've been shoving down, I wrote down. It was out. Like I talked to somebody, even though it wasn't anybody, it was out. And that really changed everything for me, was that moment.
Okay, dude. Do you ever get to those dark places now? Where you are in your life today, like, do you still find yourself ever getting to like dark places where like you could get back to that same place that you were at that moment?
Yeah, I don't think it ever ends. I think that's maybe for some of us it does, but for me, it's always kind of lingering back there. I think it's kind of like, I've mentioned alcoholism. I think it's like that. I think, you're always a recovering alcoholic if you've been an alcoholic once, right? You're always in recovery. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing for depression and anxiety and any kind of that darkness that we carry. We're always, quote, in recovery, I think, because if you don't maintenance that, like I found a few years ago, you end up slipping down that slope if you're not climbing up that mountain, Right. So, and maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't get there the same as I used to, but I still, I wake up almost every day angry, and that's just in my nature. Like my dad used to do that, maybe still does that. Man, I do. But I have to kind of mentally adjust myself every day. And I've got years of practice now to where I can just be like, okay, you're turning that off because you got up, you got great things to do today. Let's go kick ass. And that's why like my posts every day that I put up are what they are, because it's like, that's me getting my shit right with myself every day. Like, bro, focus here because this is a mess. And if you stay here, it's going to be a problem. So, I think it's easy to get back there. I think we're always in, quote, recovery from that.
Totally. Do you think, like, when you get to those dark places now, or when you're in a dark place then, what are some of the steps that you do, or some of the tools you use to get yourself out?
For me, like back in the day, what I ended up doing is, because I wasn't good at positive self-talk and all those kind of tools that we get to, that admittedly, even saying that out loud, especially to someone struggling, but even saying it out loud right now, man to man, it sounds stupid as fuck. Like, I don't care who you are. You're never like, bro, did you positive self-talk yourself today? Because, what's up? You're pretty awesome. Did you tell yourself you're awesome? Right. That's not society. That's not how it works. It seems cheesy. I go back to like that Jack Candy shit from Saturday Night Live back in the day. Do you remember that? Where like, it'd be something stupid about, how you're good enough and smart enough, or all these different things that they would do. And as cheesy as that is, that's still reality. And nobody's going to do that shit for us. So back in the day, I used to write like quotes on little Post-it notes and put them around my apartment. I'd open up the cupboard to get like a plate out when I'm getting dinner around. And, I'd see a note and be like, oh, smile, they're contagious, or whatever the hell was on it. And I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, get on that. And that was me practicing my happiness with all these notes around. And that's when I started posting it online. So on socials and MySpace back in the day. So, it slowly began that process of practicing that positive self-talk. And admittedly, I still do that today. Like we all get nervous. We all have things, new things. Anxiety exists for a reason in us primally. So, it happens. It keeps us alert. It makes us aware of things that potentially threaten our life, right? So people like us who are pushing through want to figure out a way to beat that, for better or for worse. So even to this day, if I got something big and new and different happening that I'm a little fearful of, but I know I got to push through, I go right back to that. I'm like, look, bro, you got this. Just fucking man up. All you have to do is you're going to get on a flight. You're going to go. You're going to check into the hotel. You're going to rehearse for this speech. It's only 3,500 people. Totally going to be fine. Not a big deal. You can rock it when there's 100. You can rock it when there's 5,000. So just go in there and do your job, and it's going to be great. And then, the whole time I talk myself through that. It's like, checked in, time to head over to the event, area and check it out. Okay, I'm set up. Everybody's been nice. Crowd seems like it's going to be good. And then, you just continue that process. And I do that to this day to keep myself at bay. Because otherwise it could just be like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. I'm scared to death. Why am I putting myself through it? This is dumb. I'm done. I'm not doing it. But what's gained when we do that,
Just stay in that place. Yeah. It's crazy, man, because it's actually refreshing to hear somebody like you talk about stuff like that, because like from the outside looking in, it's like people look at you, and I know I did, and I know that I do. Like I look at you as this guy that like you got it together, like you understand like how to get through the hard shit because you've done it, and you've done the public speaking, you've been an author, you're continuing to like progress through life. And to know that you're still struggling, you still have your struggles with anxiety, you still have your struggles with like self-doubt or whatever it may be, and how you're working through it. It's refreshing to know that like you're not alone, dude. Like we're still dealing with this shit. You may see me and think that I got it all together, but in reality, it's like, fuck, no, I don't, it takes work.
Well, I think that's true of everybody though, really. I mean, look at musicians who've been around look at James Hetfield of Metallica. Like he just went back into rehab last year. after, I mean, he's in a, like, I struggle to find a bigger band in that area. And he'd been clean for 12 years, but he fell back into that. And I can't imagine it was just because he's like, well, I want to drink. I'm sure it was because of other demons, of missing family, of being on the road, whatever it is. Right. We all got to work through them. It doesn't matter what level we're kind of at. I don't think it ever ends. Like I said, I feel like we're always in recovery from our past and from our traumas. Like, I don't think it ends.
Yeah. What are your thoughts now? I mean, where you sit now and what you've been through, what are your thoughts now on suicide?
Shit, this is probably going to get my ass in trouble.
Good.
Like, truly, I get it. Like, I fucking get it. When you have struggled for 5, 10, 25 years with it, and you don't feel like there's hope, and you just want the pain to go away, because that's what it is. It's not that we want to end our life. It's not that we don't want to be here. It's that we don't want that ache anymore. And whether it's a physical pain, because, you know, people get hurt, they don't want to deal with that, whether it's a mental pain, whether it's just this hurt in your chest from past traumas, whatever it is, you know, I mean, fuck, it could come down to those stupid commercials, the ASPCA commercials with the pets and Sarah McLachlan. Like, that shit hurts to watch. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's terrible.
It is, dude.
And like, I think to myself, like, I don't want to ingest that. I know it happens, but I don't want to ingest that stuff all the time because that shit hurts, because I'm a fucking softie, you know, and I don't want to carry anymore. And I think when you're carrying so much and it gets so heavy, like, I get it. And when people tell me, when I get messages from people that are like, look, dude, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. I've been fighting for so long. And the word, you know it, the word that comes up a lot is, I'm just tired. Yeah. You know, that I'm tired. That is such a phrase, right? In the words and minds of those people who are struggling with this, me included. And when you're just tired, that means, you know, it's, I need to put this down. I need to be done with it. And, you know, nobody says that, you know, there's some rule that you can't rest even when you're fighting your demons. So don't forget that. It doesn't mean you have to quit. But my response to that is, look, dude, like, I can't change this for you. I can't fix you. There's no miracle cure. You have to fight these demons. You have to fight these demons. And I'm here to support you. I want you here. I believe in you. I know you can do it. But I understand if you're tired and you can't anymore. And I respect that. I mean, a lot of people say things like, well, it's a coward's way out and all this stuff. Call it what you want. You know, you never say that to a dude out on the battlefield. You don't say that. You know, when they've been fighting for weeks on end in firefights and struggling, that person's been in a firefight in their mind for 10 years. How does anybody have a right to say that's a coward's way out when they get up thinking it, when they go to bed dealing with it, when they wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats with it, when they cry themselves to sleep and their pillow's fucking soaking wet, when their spouse is laying behind them and has no clue? How are we or anyone able to say that's a coward's way out? I don't agree. I understand. I've been there. It sucks. And I guess what it really comes down to for me is, how long are you willing to fight for yourself? And because everything gets better, but we have to be willing to fight those battles. And, you know, some people aren't willing to fight quite as long. And I get it. I don't, I'll never condemn anyone. I think it sucks. I think people that leave behind children and family and stuff, I think that sucks. But you have to ask yourself too, like, you know, that kid's growing up without a dad or a mom, but, you know, were they a dad or a mom when they were here? Were they shut in their room? Were they battling alcoholism? Were they dealing with drugs? Were they a mom or a dad? Were they present even? Or were they passing along terrible traits to their sons and daughters because they didn't know how to cope with their own life? I don't know. I don't have those answers, but those are things I think about, you know? Yeah. So it's hard. I don't think there's any right answer with it, you know?
Yeah. I used to be a judgmental prick, you know, when it came to suicide. and I shared this on a couple of the episodes I've done already, that when I was younger, it was always like, anybody that takes their own life is a coward. Like, don't be a pussy. Like, just man up. Like, I have been through some fucking shit in my life, and I'm still here. I'm still trucking. And if I could stay in the fight, so can you. And like, that was always like my go-to. And I used to tell like my closest friends, like, hey, dude, like, if I'm ever dead and they say it's a suicide, please look into it, because it's gotta be fucking foul play, because I would never fucking kill myself. And as an adult, and after I gained some life experience, I've come to find that me saying that to people was because I was afraid to own my own darkness at that time. I was afraid to own the fact that very easily I could go to that dark place where some of these people are when they choose to take their life. And be honest with you, I just don't think I had the courage to go through with it. There are plenty of times that I thought about it, but I didn't think I had the courage to go through with it. And like, some people say, like, why are you using the word courage to take your life? And I was like, because it fucking takes some courage. There's no way that any rational person can just put a gun to their head and just pull the trigger. That's not something that's done easily or taken lightly. So I know I didn't have it. And a lot of it was like, I was afraid to address that darkness that I had. I was afraid to address the demons that were like lurking inside. And it's even something I've shared with my son lately, that, he's 13. So he's asking a lot of questions now. We're kind of having more open dialogue. And he's like, you always seem like so like even keel with things. Like, you don't really freak out. I was like, don't get it twisted, bud. I was like, I'm always like calm, cool, and collected, but inside of me is a fucking true and utter disgusting savage, dude. And like, it's a light switch. So like, I'm a light switch away from getting to that point where I will start slitting throats, dude. Like, and that's the truth. I don't share that with people. I don't open up and really want people to know that, because I don't feel like it does a service to people to know that inside Josh Boyer is this fucking animal savage. But like, it's who I am, though. It's like, I know that about myself, and I keep it at bay. And I think for me, that's always been that internal struggle of like, I want to be this calm, cool, peaceful dude, but I also want to honor the fact that inside of me is a lot of rage. Inside of me is a lot of like anger and animosity, and a lot of things that like are just brewing up in there. So I do my best to move my body and do things that like get some of that out. I do some primal scream. I do some things that like kind of help me release some of that. But it's still there,
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm the same. Like I said, I wake up every day fucking angry. And it's funny because now, last time we talked, I wasn't married. Like, I'm married these days, and to wake up with
congrats, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. A woman next to you who kind of tells you like, "Hey, are you all right?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm good. Like, I need some time. Like, give me a little time." And it's not because like I hate the world and I'm like, I hate that I woke up and all that stuff, or like I hate mornings guy. I'm not that. I love fucking mornings. I love it. I love the silence before the day starts. I love all that. Yeah. But I'm an angry ass motherfucker, and I have no qualms with doing what I have to do. Like, I'm the kindest guy on the planet, but I take zero shit. And I'm thankful that it's very, very rare that any shit is given to the level where I have to kind of make people aware of that. It hasn't happened for a long time. Yeah. And last time it did, I was just like, oh, that's still there. That is right under the surface there if it needs to be. But to your point, you keep it at bay for a lot of reasons. And by and large, it doesn't serve us well until there's something primal that needs done, whether it's protecting your family or, those kind of primal things that we as leaders and men need to do. Right. But I mean, it's absolutely there. And like, nobody in my family has really seen that, including my wife. And I'm going to do my best to keep it that way, because the only purpose it serves is when there's a specific end game and violence is the answer. And shitty as it is, sometimes that's the only option.
Right. And that's kind of I spent a lot of time, I think in the last like maybe 2 or 3 years, like with a lot of shame around that shit. Like feeling like a sense of shame that I still had that like inner fucking like demon savage, whatever you want to call it. Because I was doing so much work to like calm myself. Because there were days like when I was younger, I mean, if someone like even looked at me the wrong way or whatever, I could be in the middle of a fucking casino and I would just grab a motherfucker out and start beating the fuck out of him, dude. Like I didn't care, dude. Like I had zero care in my life where it's like if I felt threatened or if I felt disrespected, the switch was going to go off and I was just going to let it happen and I didn't give a fuck. And I wouldn't say I was a menace to society because I think underneath, like I did have a big heart and I cared deeply for people. I never wanted to like inflict pain or hurt people intentionally, but I also didn't want to be fucked with. You know what I mean? I was like, just don't fuck with me. Just stay out of my world and just don't fuck with me. And when you do, you're going to pay for it. And so when I started going down the path of like really trying to be at peace with myself and at peace with the world and kind of letting go of some old stories, I did experience a lot of shame around the fact that I still had that inside of me where it's like, it was at the surface where I knew, and like my wife's never seen it. She's heard a shit ton of stories from people that we know that are mutual. And she's like, yeah, I've never seen that side of him. And I was like, and I hope you never do. Like, I truly do hope you never, ever, ever witness it. Cause it's not pretty, you know?
But well, I think with that, I think it comes with perspective when we work on ourselves, because then we look at other people who are maybe acting out or talking shit or doing whatever it is they're doing, and we understand how to de-escalate that in a much different way, where before it'd just be like grab them by the throat and take care of this, take out the trash. Where today I can be like, dude, like I get it. Like I know you're pissed off at everything right now. I know your finances are in shambles. I know you just lost your job. I get it. But this isn't going to help, you know, and you can have the conversation and be empathetic to it instead of just being like, you coming at me, you know?
Yeah.
It changes things a lot. So really, like any of the things that I've kind of come up against have been quickly de-escalated, because it's just like, fuck, I don't need a broken nose any more than anybody else does, you know?
Right. Dude, I'll share a story that just happened not too long ago. And, you know, I went to go pick up my son because he was having some issues over at his mom's house. And he was like, you know, I need you to come get me. And so my initial reaction to that was rage. Like, dude, my son's in danger. And so I need to go and save him from what he's in danger from. And so I did the right thing. I used logic and was like, hey, listen, I got to make sure that the police officers know that I'm going there, because like I don't want to get into like some weird shit and then I end up in jail, and then, you know, it's just not cool. So call the police officers. I go and I get there and I'm immediately, I pick up my son. He gets in my truck. We go to like go and wait for the cops where I told the cops I would be. And all of a sudden, my car kind of gets surrounded by these dudes. I don't need to mention who they are, but it doesn't matter. But they get in front of my car, and you know they're hitting my car, sitting on top of my Suburban. You know, telling me to get out of the car. They're gonna kill me. This all in front of my son. You know, and I gotta tell you, man, like I was shaking. I was so angry. Like it was like, dude, I had the wherewithal. I had the weaponry, if you will, whatever, to really do a lot of damage. And it's what I wanted to do. Is like I wanted to get out of that car and annihilate people. And I didn't. I held it in because I knew that like my son was asking me to save him from chaos. I couldn't become a part of that chaos. I had to show him like what it meant to use restraint and just stay in the flow and just be cool, man. Like it's all good. Even though internally I wanted to kill people, dude. And I spent, after that happened, luckily he was able to come home with me that night, and we were able to talk. I did some breath work with him and some body movement stuff with him to kind of move some of that like trauma, move some of that like hurt and things that he experienced. Cause you know, at 12 years old, you never should be experiencing any of that shit. And, so I'd say 3 days after that or 4 days after that, dude, I cried every day. And so I went to my mentor and I was like, dude, like, why? Like, I'm so emotional about this. Like, what's going on? He's like, dude, think about it. You have this inner savage inside of you and you know what you're capable of, and you bottled it. You put it down and like didn't allow it to come out. And so now those emotions are coming to the surface. And it's like, dude, sometimes that trauma or that fear or whatever it is comes out through tears, and it comes out through grief. Like you're just grieving it, and you got to let it go, man. Like let some of that shit out, you know? Because from logic, it's like, dude, I can't always handle things the way that I normally would handle them because I know there's a law of cause and effect. And it's like, if I go and do something, I'm gonna have to pay the price for that, you know? And it's like, I can't afford to be in jail right now. You know, I got kids and, you know, a wife, and it's just not cool. So interesting times, man.
That's a really interesting thing that you bring up is that, you know, because I always ask, like, okay, well, if you want this, then what are you willing to give up for it? Because there's always that. Yeah. And that's just the way life works. So if you wanted to give in and you know, show them who's boss and tell them or teach them the lesson that they were, you know, coming quickly for, right. Not that it's your responsibility to do so, which is obviously how you approached it, but if, you know, then what? And it's like, but also what's being sacrificed. And that's, I think about that every single time I think about anything, all the way down to like when we moved recently, we sold a house, right? And moved to our current location, which is a beautiful loft. And I was like, well, if, you know, we can have a nice house, we can do anything, but I'm going to have to give up time again with my family to take care of the yard or to take care of this or take care of that. It's all the way down to those simple things. And I didn't want that. I want more time with people that matter to me, with things that are important. I want to focus there. So every single decision that I make is a matter of, if this, then what's being sacrificed for it. And, you know, every time I rationalize things that way, I never look back and think, man, I made the wrong decision, since I started processing things that way, you know? It's been so helpful. And I know my wife gives me shit about it because I'm always like, you know, it sounds real deep, you know, to have, you know, it's like, well, if I have a soda, then that's, you know, X number of extra minutes on the treadmill or in the gym, right? And that's how I think about it. So it's like all the way down to that. It's like, at what point is it too much? Well, I don't have that answer, but I know it serves me well. You know, it helps me reach goals and not be in jail or anything else, you know?
Yeah, totally, dude. I want to ask you about social media. We touched on it briefly before the podcast and a little bit during, but do you think social media is a detriment or a plus one for mental health, in terms of mental
health? I think if one is strong enough to understand how to surround themselves with a good environment on social media or otherwise, it's absolutely a plus 1,000, because you have access to people all around the world who are struggling with the same shit you're struggling with, and understand that you are absolutely not alone. And you can pick the brains of potentially millions of people to come to decisions in your own life about what's best for you, right? Which is shit. We didn't have that growing up, man. It was like your escape was music or beating the shit out of somebody or going on a run or hitting the gym. You didn't have anyone to talk to without being, from where I was at, without being called some, you know, pussy or being judged or whatever. But now that's not the case. That said, if one does not have the awareness and wherewithal to edit their feeds and just consumes, similar to the way you know, a couch potato would have or would have been referred to, it's an absolute fucking mess. Because same reason, everybody who's hurting and angry and emotional is putting that out there too. And if that's what you're ingesting, then you're going to grow a fucking cancerous tumor, and, you know, you're going to hate your life. And that's just the reality of it. So, you know, alcohol can be a good time, but too much isn't such a good time anymore, right? And I think that applies with anything, just like social media. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that you know, I think it's a user's decision on what kind of experience you're going to have, whether that's going to be positive or negative. I think the way that social media is built, I think it's built to draw you in. I think it's built to like keep you on that platform as long as humanly possible. And I think if you don't have the, like, I know for myself, I'll speak for myself, like when this whole like pandemic thing kicked off and blah, 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 everything's locked down. I was initially, and still, I guess, like I was happy about the lockdown. I was like, cool, dude, shut everything down, dude, slow it all down. Let's get back to the fucking basics. People are just running and gunning all day fucking long. This rat race, keeping up with the Joneses, doing all this shit. Fuck that. Let it all burn, dude. Like, let's get back down to the basics. In terms of social media, though, I found myself spending too much time on social media because I had more time on my hands and I wasn't using that time wisely. It was like I was engrossed in trying to build the podcast, and I was like, dude, trying to pivot from doing it all in person to how I was going to do it over Zoom and trying to reconnect with people. And like, so there was a lot of like trying to navigate how I was going to discipline myself with social media. And like I said, sometimes when you're on there, if your feed isn't set up properly, you're going to see a lot of things that you don't need to see or don't want to see. And for me, it's been cathartic to be able to, and again, thanks to you, like I've been more willing to put my shit out there and literally not give a fuck what people think about it. Like I've been doing poems for the last 2 or 3 days, like just things that are on my mind. It's like, I'm thinking about anxiety. I'm going to write about anxiety. One person might read it. They may get something from it. They may be like, damn, this dude gets it. He's relating with me. Cool. I made a difference, dude. I'm happy about that. The one I did last night about evolving. It's like, dude, you got to evolve from a different person. Like, dude, your circle's going to change. Things are going to change. You're in the flow, dude. Like it's natural. It's part of the deal. And so I've been trying to do these poems every day to get the thoughts out of my head. And some of them I might share, some of them I might not. But it's given me the experience of really relinquishing like the fear of like being judged, the fear of what people are going to think. And it's also helped me redefine my circle, because there's been a lot of people through this pandemic and other things we got going on that like people show you who they are. They show you like a piece of who they are. And some of these people are not anybody I want to be associated with or at my table. And so it helped me to weed out just dumb shit,
Right. Yeah. I mean, the pandemic itself and ultimately everything that's going on has really shown me, really reinforced to me that I've made the right decisions for myself and my family, which is a good feeling. It's good for once to be like not in upheaval and not be like, oh, fuck, what now? And, 10 years ago I would have been, or 15 years ago I would have been, but that's just not where I'm at now. And I'm thankful about that. And again, I think that comes from doing what you talked about, like putting yourself out there, building your brand, building yourself, building your confidence, building your value to yourself and to others, and ultimately getting to a place where whatever challenges that are kind of in front of you, without a doubt that you're going to handle, and you have the right people behind you, the right team, to climb mountains with you or to go into battle with you. And for the most part, it was that way for me. Like I watched I watched those people and how they handled it. And it's been interesting because most of those individuals really didn't have much to say because they're busy pivoting, making changes, making things work, not flipping out, not worrying about you're wearing a mask or you're not wearing a mask or we need this or we don't need this. They're focused on doing what's best for them and their family, not judging anyone else, and still thriving. And it's like, fuck right. That's fucking right. Those are those people that I need, and that's why they're here. So it's been a huge kind of personal reinforcement tool. So I'm very thankful for it, as weird as that is. I know that might sound shitty. I'm not thankful that people are out of jobs. I'm not thankful that people are struggling with mental health. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying for me, it took me off the road. It took me away from traveling, and it made me realize that what I have at home, for the first time in my life, I can embrace in a way that I am supposed to embrace it, and I can thrive here as well. It's been a blessing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think this has been probably one of my biggest growth moments in my life, I think, as a result of everything that's happening in the world. And I think part of that was because I went through the mental anxiety of, and I was telling my wife this, that like, dude, it wasn't about, getting sick. It wasn't about a virus. It wasn't about, whatever. It was more, I was looking at what society was doing and it was making me very uneasy. Like, dude, like you're rushing to buy toilet paper in the middle of a virus outbreak. Like, fuck, dude. Like I was losing like faith in humanity. I was like, dude, like I don't see this ending well. And I was like using logic to be like, logic tells me that if that's what they're doing for this, what are they going to do for that? And it was making me feel very like vulnerable and like just kind of like, dude, like I need to get my shit together. And she was, at first my wife's like, dude, you're kind of panicking a little bit. I said, I'm not panicking, I'm preparing. So like if there's things that I don't have, if my ammo isn't all in line, if my, solar panel like chargers aren't in line, like whatever, I don't feel comfortable. So like if those things, having them all in a box ready to go if I need to, make me feel comfortable, then that's just what I'm going to do. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, that the world's going to go to hell in a handbasket, but if it does, I want to at least be prepared to take care of my family and to take care of myself. That's it, Yeah. So it's been a growth edge on that front. And also just, like I said, like getting back to the basics and realizing that like this time that we have, I mean, I was traveling all the time, dude. I was on the road like every 2 or 3 weeks I was gone and I was missing all this time with my kids and like whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat and say that, oh, being a parent is the best thing in the world. I mean, that's what a lot of people will put on social media. I love this. This is great. But dude, kids are a lot of fucking work, man. Especially if you're a dad that's trying to be on the grind and like build and like make something happen. It's like kids need your attention. They need your time. They need your love. And when you're in the midst of trying to build something, it's hard to balance that. It's not the easiest task. And being at home with like my kids running all over the place, they want my attention. So this has been a way for me to really settle back down and be like, all right, cool. Like they need my attention now. I need to prioritize my time. And like, we can like do this to where it all makes sense for all of us. You know what I mean? Where I feel I'm getting my cup filled, they're getting their cups filled, and it's all good. Where it's a win-win for all of us.
Yeah, and that is so huge. My wife and I consistently work to simplify less. You hear that less is more, right? Mm-hmm. But we as a society are good at consuming and good at purchasing and doing things that fill voids. I struggle with buying a new fucking $18 t-shirt,
Right.
Like I hate it because it's like another thing that I have to weigh me down. And like, if shit happens, like we're talking and the world does go to hell in a handbasket, I don't need 43 t-shirts. Like I don't need it. And I don't need the stress of having to leave that shit behind. I need a dog collar. I need food. I need a place for my cat on my back, and I need my family to be safe and near me in a sheltered area. Nothing else. Literally, I don't need anything else. And that's really how I try to do it. So that way, nothing else can kind of get in the way. And simplifying life in terms of physical things and material things is huge. Simplifying it in terms of activities or number of activities we're doing, and simplifying it in terms of how we approach people and family is important as well. So that's the approach we're taking for that reason. Like, I mean, being a dad, all your job is to provide obviously the basic needs and guidance. That's the only other thing, guidance. And if you're not present to provide guidance, their cup isn't full. But sometimes you can't be present because you have to go fill your cup. So you got to kind of figure that out. And if you can do that simply, shit, you're winning all day long.
Yeah. And that's why with the gyms closing or whatever, like if it's like, I need to go hike, I need to get out in the mountains and get in nature and do my thing. I've been taking my sons with me. It's like, hey, listen, like I like that alone time for myself, but I know you guys like to be with me. And it's like, it's a win-win. I get out in the mountains, you guys get some exercise. So do I. It's all good, So we've been finding ways to really shift it a little bit to where it works for all of us. I want to ask you too, like, if you could give one message to somebody that's in their darkest moment, to kind of help them out of it, what would that message be that you'd want to like share with them?
That's tough because I think about a lot of scenarios.
Right.
I mean, because I've had people message me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever and be like, bro, like, I'm hurting, I need your help, whatever. I feel like I'm close to the edge. And I've had those conversations and those moments. And truthfully, I can't remember what I said, so it would be different. But I can also tell you that, I've lost people because of that, because I didn't respond within 20 minutes or 10 minutes or 3 hours. I mean, I have a life. I'm busy. I give that's free. I'm there for strangers all over the world. And if people think you're not getting hundreds of messages a day, well, you're wrong. And like, I try my best to keep up. And if it takes me 2 days, I'm sorry you're struggling and it took me 2 days, but there's thousands of you and there's me. So to get that message that, hey, such and such ended their life and I still have it unread, like, that sucks, so answering that is really tough. I mean, honestly, one thing I would say to them is just simply hang on. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. Just hang on, because the longer you hang there, the stronger you get. And I mean, it always gets better. This too shall pass is an important thing, both for happiness, because nobody thinks that, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, this too shall pass. That applies there as well.
Right.
You're going to have these
peaks and valleys, man.
Yeah. And I think that in that season, if you can just hold on, it'll pass. You just have to keep working for it, So yeah, hang on.
Yeah. Do you ever feel a sense of, do you ever feel like a sense of pressure being like a social media influencer and helping a lot of people? And the reason I ask is because it's something that got brought up in one of the other episodes, where it's like, people know who you are. They see the content that you're putting out. A lot of it is about positivity. A lot about it is owning your stuff and just kind of really putting your best foot forward. And so people are reaching out to you because they look up to you. You're like an influence. Do you ever feel like sometimes like there's pressure where that's concerned, because I'm helping all these other people, but I'm not helping myself, dude? Do you ever need a rock for yourself, man? Like anybody else to like go to and be like, dude, I need a little reprieve from all this shit.
I can't say I need a rock for myself. I learned how to be that for myself a long time ago. Right. But I do need to fill my cup. And, I'll be the very first to say that I cannot wait for the day I can just throw my phone in the fucking ocean, because I'm one dude. And yes, I'm here to serve. But there are times, to your point, that it's, you end up opening your inbox in the morning on one social platform, and there's like 25 messages. You get to another 32, the other there's 7. And it's like, some of these aren't, 2-liners like in your story. Some of these are life stories that I can't just look at quickly and respond to. So there's a sense of pressure in terms of service for me, because I want to leave a legacy in others. I don't care if people know my name. I care that kid who was struggling at 17 or 22 or whatever, that messaged me from Canada that I never met, that I helped through, has his kid and helps him with those same lessons. And I live on that way. I'll never know. The world isn't going to know. But that's what I'm here to do. So, yeah, I mean, there's pressure. But I also have to understand, like that, the few that I've lost because I didn't respond in time. I have to understand that there could be 50 of those in a day. But if I'm not well, I'm not serving them, and I'm not responsible for their decisions. And that was a tough lesson to learn.
Sure.
I mean, I spoke at a school, and about 6 months later, a kid took his life. And it's like, well, I went, I poured my guts out. I told my story. Like, I didn't know you were there. You could have said something. I could have seen you. I didn't. And that hurt. That was a lot to carry. But I can't be responsible for his decision. I can only be there to encourage and to help. That's my job, to serve them, not save them. So that's how I kind of rationalize it in my head. If 50 people need me right in this moment, but I need to be there for me, I win. Not because I'm an asshole, but because I can't help 50 more tomorrow if I help 50 more today. So that's kind of what I have to wrestle with. And I'm sure you do too to some degree, man.
Definitely. Yeah, there's times where like it's you're with your family, you get a message and you feel like a sense of obligation to respond to this message because this person's on their last deal, but you have to make a split second decision. Like, am I going to interrupt my family time to help this person that I don't even know? Or am I going to put this off until I have the time to do that? So it's a balancing act, and I have to remove myself from like any kind of guilt because I'm going to make the decision that I feel is best for me and my family at the end of the day. And I do feel a sense of obligation because people follow my podcast and they follow what I'm doing. I do feel a sense of obligation to be a leader in the mental health community, to be a leader in the veteran community, be a leader in society as a whole, to make a positive difference in the world and to share my story openly, authentically, to give people the freedom to share their story and get it off of their chest and just get it out, because I think that's healing. But I'm also not going to do it at the behest of like, putting my family to the side. It's like that's not going to happen ever. So it's a big deal, man. But I'm hoping that I've read a comment actually that someone put on yours and your wife's page about like you guys didn't get back to them fast enough or whatever, and your response was super diplomatic. It wasn't, you weren't an asshole at all. But that's the kind of stuff that really like it just bothers me a little bit because it's like, dude, like Josh has a life, dude. You know what I mean? Like him and his wife have a life. Like you can't just expect that they're gonna drop everything to like get to your comment or get to your question like immediately. And that's kind of the society that we're in now, is like instant gratification. It's like, and that was the whole thing with the iPhone. Is like I had the iPhone because it was like accessibility. It's like, oh, someone emails me, I can hit them right back. They send me a message, I hit them right back. But it's like, no, when I get to my computer, I'll see the message and I'll get to them.
Yeah, which is that's a perfect balance. What I had to get to is like for individuals like that are like, oh, it took you 3 days. Like, yeah, because I'm fucking busy. Like I wouldn't have gotten here in life if I was wiping everybody else's ass. What I'm doing here is I'm making building my success, and I'm allowing you into my life for a free service. And I don't mean that to sound clinical or business, but like, I don't have to do that. I owe you nothing. Zero. I don't owe you a fucking thing. I don't have to give you a quarter on the street if you're fucking homeless and starving. I don't have to do shit. I don't even have to look at you or ask your fucking name. But you know what? I do. And if you're going to take advantage of that, this is where the savage part comes out. If you're going to take advantage of that, and you fucking reach up, I'll grab your hand, but I'm going to teach you a fucking lesson if you're going to stand here in front of me and talk shit. And you might not like it, and you may tuck your tail and run away, but when you come back, I'll build you better. But don't fucking come at me entitled, because it's not going to work, because I don't know you shit. I don't know anybody shit. And that was a bit for me, because I always want to be nice, and I am nice. But don't fucking cross the line, because I don't know you anything. I am not asking for your fucking money. If you need a few messages to build your life back, I'll do that. Yeah. And that's what I do. I do one-on-one life coaching and shit too, but that's for people who really want to work, who really want to dive in and really want to put in the time and invest in themselves. I don't have time to do that for anybody else. I'm not an asshole. I'm not, it's business. That's real life. If you want the free stuff, if you want the service, if you want those messages, my cup's got to be full, my family's got to be good, then I'll get to you. And I will get to you, Yeah. So it's tough though, like you said.
Yeah. It's kind of one of the things that we talked about on the podcast I did the other night was that, I think a lot of people don't see behind the scenes of like, you're this motivational speaker, you're publishing a book, you've published a book, you're constantly creating content. All of that takes time and money and effort. And a lot of people don't see like what goes into that. It's like, it's not to say that like, hey, listen, like my podcast is a labor of love. I love doing my podcast. I love sharing my story and sharing the stories of my guests. I absolutely love doing it, but it takes money and time and effort and time away from my kids and my wife. And it's like, I've spent like just building the podcast alone was like over $50,000 with all the airfare and hotels and cars and whatever. It was a huge investment. It's like, and when people think that like I owe it to them for free, it's like, dude, at some point, like I'm down to like build a platform and do what I need to do. But at some point, like it needs to be supported. Like if you truly care about what I'm doing, you truly want me to keep on going, I'm going to need to be supported or I can't, dude. Like it just doesn't make sense. I'll have to pivot into something else, you know?
Exactly. Well, that's where thankfully there's things like Patreon and other things that can be supported, you know, because there's enough of that. And I wouldn't have believed it. Like if you would have told me several years ago that I don't need a publishing company, I don't need Amazon.com, I don't need Barnes and Noble to be successful. When I took a huge risk on the most recent book that I put out, and I invested more money into it than I ever have. And I made it exclusive to my own website because I'm like, at some point, nobody gets to dip in. And the people that I have served for so many years, I hope will give back because the value I provided to them continues to be a need in their life. And it paid off, you know, and it helped me. And it's been awesome. Like, holy shit. And, you know, I think people show up for people who show up for them. And I think that's really important. So when that time comes and you start to really cross into that, they'll show up. They'll be there.
Yeah. And that's my hope is that like you put a lot of blood, sweat and tears into something, you know, you hope that like the dividends will pay off eventually, you know, where it's like people will support what you're doing. And like my goal is to always, as a friend, as a mentor, as a leader, whatever, like I always want to support my friends. I always want to make whatever they're doing, I want to support exactly what they're doing. If they're selling a book, I'm fucking buying it. If they're selling a shirt, I'm buying it. Like it's like I want to show my love. And for me, I feel that's the best way to show your love to someone is support them, support what they're doing, you know, and it'll be mutually beneficial because when you're doing things, they're going to support you as well, you know?
100%. Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's been so many things that I've been in on the ground floor that people are like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, they're nobodies or they don't have anything. Like, what's the deal? It's like, no, I see it. Just give it time. Give it 2 to 7 years. Give it 8 years, whatever. And then people are like, how the fuck did you know? And it's like, I felt it. I know they're real and I supported it. And I was there because I'm not going to be the guy sitting in a crowd congratulating them and giving them high fives after all the work. I'm going to be the guy there backstage when there's only 4 other people out front saying, dude, I know there's not a lot of people today, but tomorrow it's going to be better. Get out there. And then when there are thousands of people out front, they always come back to me and be like, dude, if it wasn't for you, I don't know where I'd be. I always want to be that guy with everyone.
You're going to be that way for me for sure, dude. I'm telling you, man, as far as I make it, dude, I guarantee you, I will always be coming back to you and thanking you for like that initial conversation. Seriously. Because it changed like the trajectory because I felt like I was on that path of like, you know, I wanted to be famous, you know, like Joe Rogan, or I was getting in my own head. And then the minute you and I had that conversation, it was like the light switch went off and I was like, I don't care about that anymore. Like money is a byproduct of doing what you love. Money is a byproduct of being authentic and being real and just staying on your path and staying in your lane. That's just a byproduct, you know, and it's an energy, and money's an energy, you know. So if you're in the right frequency of like money, it'll just come to you naturally when you're staying in that energy. So like, yeah, dude, I would definitely, you can bet your ass, dude, I'll be coming back to you no matter how far I go.
That means so much. Like, honestly, like to me, that's what our legacies are about. Like if this is kind of where I sit today is, you know, I've lived a lot of life in a short time deliberately because I never thought I'd make it. I'm going to be 40 and I never in my wildest dreams ever thought 40 would happen. Right. And here I am. And, you know, I'm fucking all one going white and, you know, everything else. And I think to myself, like, okay, like, what is my duty here? Because, you know, I've lived 10 lifetimes in 40 years. Most people get the chance to live one or barely live one or are fighting to live one dream. And I've gotten to do all of it. What am I good for now? And where I sit, and from my vantage point, is it's my job to do what I've always done, but to recognize those people who are really pushing forward, guys like you who are really going for it, balls out, and continuing to remind them, look, you're doing it on those hard days. Just get up and take those steps. It doesn't have to be a big one, but you're achieving it, and kind of passing along what bits of information I learned along the way. And it's not that I know a ton, but I made a shitload of mistakes. And if I can help other people not make them, I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be today, is to be that kind of leading hand for people that are headed to the same places that I wanted to go. Because I can't talk to you about business investments all day because I'm not that guy. But if you want to achieve the same verticals that I did, I want to be here for that. I want to help those people up. I want to help them climb, because I'm not gonna be writing words forever. My shit, just like anybody, starts to become irrelevant the second it's out there, right? And at some point, I'm gonna rest. And I want to rest. But what does that mean? Because I still have to serve. And that's how I see it. I might release a book in 6 months. It might be 10 years. It may be never again. None of those are wrong, because I know I'm still here to continue that legacy in others. And that's kind of where I'm at, because at the end of the day, man, when that casket shuts and we're buried, the only thing you got is a few decades or a few lifetimes of your name on those people's lips before that goes away. And I want to make sure that happens as long as possible.
Oh yeah, brother. Well, I want you to make me a promise, if you can, that my first public speaking engagement, that you'll come. You'll be there.
I would be honored to do that. I will do everything in my power to make that happen.
All right.
Absolutely. That would be super fucking cool to be there. And honestly, circle, I get it. It's a crazy thing. And someone asked me the other day what my kind of crowning achievement was in that world. And I was like, speaking in front of like 300 people at the high school I graduated from, not in front of the 3,500 people somewhere else in some state. Yeah. It was that moment. So, dude, like that first one may matter more than any of the other ones. Wherever you go, you can sell out fucking Madison Square Garden, and it won't matter as much as that first one. With 40 people. So, yeah, dude, I'd be honored.
Fuck yeah, dude. I want you to plug, your book, where people can find you, how they can connect with you, if you don't mind. Yeah.
No, Jesus, no. Basically, joshuacoburn.com for everything. I just Google Joshua Coburn. You can find all my socials. It's all under my name, sometimes with a period in between. But yeah, latest book is Shit That Needs Said, so you can kick all the ass. Limited edition still available. But we're winding down. We're almost sold out of them again. So I got to decide what I want to do. Do I want to keep printing them? Do I want to release something else? Do I want to just say fuck it and let it die? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But people can get those daily posts on Instagram and TikTok now, and everywhere else. So if they need a kick in the ass or a kick to the groin, depending on what they're going to, you'll fucking get it. So show up and get that every day.
Oh yeah, man. What about life coaching? Are you actively looking for clients for life coaching, and how is that? How do people find you to do that?
Yep.
What does that entail?
You can go to just Joshua Coburn /shop. You'll see an option to book an hour or two or whatever. And yeah, if there's somebody, and usually after the first session, I know, but if there's somebody who's really wanting to kick ass, I'll take on a client full time. But and that's really a labor of love. That's not about cash, because let's be honest, I can speak to a bunch of people for a bunch more money and a hell of a lot less time investment than investing in people. So if you're somebody who wants to kick ass and wants to put in that work, let's fucking do it together, because I'm here for it.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, man, again, this episode didn't disappoint, man. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And I thank you, man, for sharing your heart and just putting it out there, man. And
dude,
so grateful for you.
I'm honored. I'm like, really, I'm always very honored. It's great to have a real conversation with a real dude on the other end. You know, there's no business agenda. There's no bullshit. We're just here to put good out into the world and be real. So thank you for that opportunity and platform to do it.
Absolutely, brother. So when I get ready to release this, I'll go ahead and let you know. And then if you don't mind sharing it for me, man, that'd be awesome.
Dude, you know I got you. Absolutely.
All right, brother, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, take care, man. Later.
All right, brother. Peace.
Thank you for listening to My Backstory. Stay motivated and stay connected off the show. Follow at my_backstory_ to be a part of the journey to recovery and to see where your story goes. Or visit us online at hereismybackstory.com.